Welcome to this RMS Support Center release brown bag training. Today we're going to be reviewing the updates and fixes made in the upcoming patch release. That upcoming patch release number is targeted to be 510, but that does have the potential to change. This patch is targeted to be released on November 21st, which will be this Thursday afternoon. If you experience any issues downloading the new patch, please don't hesitate to contact the help desk. There's a link to our ticketing system in Jira and a phone number that you can call listed on the references slide of this presentation. The slides for this presentation can be found on our website, rms.usays.army.mil. That link can also be found on the references slide. And we also have some demos recorded and linked at the end of the presentation in that references slide as well. These slides will be updated to include any Q&A that occurs during today's webinar. And this presentation itself is also being recorded, so that video will be posted on our YouTube channel. Keep an eye out for that, which should be posted within about 5 business days following our presentation today. That video will be made available on both our YouTube channel and listed on the RMS website. If you have any questions regarding anything that we discuss and cover today, please type that question into the Q&A section of this WebEx. We do have some RMS Support Center folks on standby, ready to take care of those as they come in. We'll also open up the floor for discussion at the end of the presentation, so if you'd like to wait until the end and unmute to ask your question verbally, you'll have the opportunity to do that as well. Okay, here's our agenda for the day. First, we'll review an incoming update to non-CAC logins. This first update that we're going to talk about will not be a part of Thursday's release. It will be part of a later release, but we wanted to go ahead and get notification of this change out there. Then we'll get into the patch 510's fixes and updates for the RMS Staff module, a few areas under administration and finances, and then the QA/QC, submittals, schedules, import/export, and closeout areas. As I already mentioned, we do have some linked references on that references slide to be used as resources for what we discussed today. And then finally, we'll open up the floor for any verbal discussion to occur as it relates to the updates and fixes we review today at the end of the presentation. Okay, so first up, this first update we're reviewing, as I just mentioned, will not be part of the patch 510 release going out on Thursday, but we wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of this incoming update. Please make sure to communicate this to your contractors as well. This will probably impact them more than other users because it relates to logins using a username and password. For all those users who log in using a username and password rather than a CAC, multi-factor authentication has been enabled. Each time a non-CAC account logs in, an authentication access code is going to be sent to that account's email address. This will be similar to the process for verifying your computer for your account in RMS, only this is going to take you to whichever home page for each mode. So the map view in government mode, and then the prime contractor selection view in contractor mode. The authentication code must be entered within 10 minutes to continue the login process. Nothing else has changed or will change for the password methodology for the username and password accounts. Those are all going to stay. Those are all going to stay the same with entering your password 3 times and getting locked out and all of that. This change is going to be targeted for release in December of this year. We do already have a demonstration of how this process is going to look up on our YouTube channel as well. It's linked right here in this slide, as well as in the references slide I've mentioned a few times already. If you have any questions, please reach out to your RMS district administration team. Okay, so next up, the rest of the updates and fixes we're going to review today will be going out with patch 510 on Thursday. So first up for patch 510, we have an update to how RMS IDs are entered in a staff record. If any lowercase letters are entered in the add staff member dialog box, that's going to automatically be forced into uppercase upon confirmation. This is because CFMS only uses uppercase letters for purposes like this, and you can actually enter any case you'd like into the add staff member window, but it's going to be stored as all uppercase so that any CFMS interactions with RMS for that account will work properly. Okay, moving on to administration. We have an update to the contract description module. The contract number and delivery order number fields are not going to be as restrictive as they are currently. Some contract numbers have evolved beyond the guidelines that were set for these fields once upon a time, and to adapt to that, the validation for invalid numbers here has been removed. A warning is still going to be provided if these fields are empty, but there's no longer going to be any validation errors for an existing number that's been entered. We do have another update that this is related to, and we will review that in the finance slides later on. Next up is an update to contract status. In the monthly progress tab in this module, the beginning and the end dates for this view are now going to be based on the NTP acknowledged and the construction completion milestone dates for the contract, respectively. So first, the actual date for those milestones will be used as the beginning and the end. And then if there is no actual date, then the scheduled date is going to be used for that purpose. Okay, next, still in administration in the P2 projects module. Some extra information has been added here to show when the data from P2 was last downloaded for the contract. So as shown here at the top of the screen, the note P2 data for this contract was last downloaded on, and it will show the date and the time that that data was downloaded. This should help when something for the contract has been updated or changed in P2. If the date and the time shown in that note is before the update was made in P2, then another P2 download will need to occur. If the contract has not yet downloaded any data, then the note will reflect that as well. P2 data for this contract has not yet been downloaded. Also, just a note, this is one part of numerous updates that are expected to be made in this area, so be on the lookout for those to come in later releases. Okay, moving into finances now. The first update in this area will be in progress payments under the subcontractor earnings tab. The subcontractor earnings deducted by contractor can now be edited in the government mode view of the progress payment. This is going to be the only field for editing available for editing in this tab. And that's because the subcontractor earnings deducted by contractor is going to affect the calculations of money distribution on the obligations. That means if a dollar amount does exist here, then that amount is going to distribute across all obligations that have money attached to them or money on the activities for that request. And this value entered here might impact the desired results of the progress payment. So if needed, the government can modify this in conjunction with the allowed activity earnings to change or resolve any potential money alignment issues that can result from that. Just a quick reminder about this, the number entered here should only be a positive number, and if it's entered on one invoice, then it will need to be added to the subsequent invoices until the contractor states that the subcontractor has completed the job, and the funds can then be dispersed to the subcontractor. Otherwise, the funds will be dispersed with the next invoice. Okay, next up, still in progress payments. This one is for the refund fields in the obligations tab. Negative numbers can no longer be entered into these fields. Only the amount that needs to be refunded should be entered here, so it would actually be counterintuitive to add a negative number here. And so to avoid that altogether, RMS will no longer allow that type of entry. Only a number higher than 0 can be entered in these fields, and an error message is going to be provided if you attempt to do otherwise. All right, moving into contract modifications. We have a pretty significant update here for the SF30 in RMS. The SF30 report can no longer be printed from RMS as a report. That's because the printing of individual non-compliant SF30 reports can possibly lead to the ACO or contractors signing an incorrect or duplicate version of the official SF30, and that can cause some confusion, so that capability is no longer available in RMS. Excuse me. SPS is the contracting official system for creating SF30s, and those SF30s created in SPS are going to be the only ones considered as valid modification award documents. Also, please keep in mind that SPS will be transitioning to ACWS in the near future. If you have any questions regarding this update or SPS, please reach out to your district administration team. Some SPS training resources have also been added here as well. Those are also linked in the references slide of the presentation. So since the SF30 report can no longer be printed as a report from RMS, either from a modification or from the contract reports module, the SF30 button's functionality has been updated as well. This button is now going to bring up a consolidated view of all the information entered into the modification in this view shown here on the bottom. And from this view, the information in each text box is available to be copied and pasted into the appropriate area in SPS if needed. And then also in this window, the Download SF30 button will be available in the top right corner. This will result in a PDF file with the information as shown on the screen, just in plain text within that PDF file. All right, moving on from the SF30, still in contract modifications, this update is related to that contract description update we reviewed previously. So in addition to that, sometimes there can be discrepancies among the contract and delivery order numbers entered in RMS, CFMS, and PCF. And due to that, the contract number validation can interrupt and halt the completion of the mod package in a modification. So when this happened, RMS would present the errors shown here on the slide and keep the mod package from being completed. This has been updated by removing that contract number validation. So instead of having to jump back and forth between the mod and contract description to change the number and then come back and send it, RMS it will allow the completion of the mod package without performing that contract number validation. Okay, moving into the QA/QC tab, we have another pretty significant update made here to the hazard analysis module in both government and contractor mode. This module now contains a more detailed activity hazard analysis or AHA builder. Some fields already existed here in the legacy view, and then other newer fields have been added. All the AHAs that were started in RMS prior to this patch release will maintain the legacy view of the AHA screen. And any AHAs started after the release of patch 5.10 will show this new AHA builder view. On this slide, we're showing the contractor mode view of the AHA builder, and we'll discuss the differences in each mode's view as well. The date submitted and activity fields will be required, and at least one hazard step will need to be entered in order to complete an AHA. The new AHA builder will also contain a field to reflect the overall risk assessment code for the hazard analysis. And this value is computed from the hazard step with the highest risk assessment code. So the risk assessment code for each hazard step is computed from the combination of the severity and the probability selected for the step. Guidance for this code can also be found by clicking on the code matrix button in the top right corner of the screen, shown right here. This guide's going to provide an explanation on how to select a probability and severity for hazard steps, and it's also going to provide a graphical view of the matrix that determines how the combination of selections will result in a risk assessment code. In addition to the hazard steps, there are also grids available for recording both the hazard equipment included in the hazard analysis and the involved personnel. Hazard equipment is not required to be added to have a complete AHA, but when adding it, an equipment title will be required, and a training and or inspection date can be entered if those dates are known. When adding involved personnel, a selection can be made from the contractor staff for that contract. So that's going to be within the prime contractor module under the contractor staff tab. Anyone listed there will be available for selection for this AHA in this contract. If someone should be included in the involved personnel for the AHA, but they are not an RMS user, you can take advantage of the manual upload capabilities that are available. The completion process for an AHA has also been updated. Once all the information has been completed, a button will become available, or it's available, but it will become active. The Generate ENG 6206 button. This is going to populate all the information entered into the AHA builder into an ENG 6206, which will then be added to a new document package for the AHA. Clicking on this button will also make most of the fields read-only in contractor mode, the only exception being the Sign ENG 6206 button in the involved personnel grid. This button will become active once the ENG 62 has been generated. All of the individuals listed in the involved personnel guide do need to sign the ENG 6206. Those signatures will be necessary. Only the person with access to the respective user account can sign as that user as well. No user can sign for another user or anything like that. Also, it's important to note here that users included in the involved personnel will need at least read-only permissions to access and sign the AHA that they are associated with. Even if they're included in the grid, if they don't have access to view the module, then they will not be able to enter the module to see the AHA, much less sign it. If a contract has an approved form to use for a hazard analysis, then that can also be manually added here by checking the ENG 6206 manual upload checkbox and adding that to the document package. Once the ENG 6206 has been generated and uploaded, and all the necessary signatures have been added, the Submit for Review checkbox will become active and can be checked to complete the contractor action on the AHA and submit to government for review. That checkbox is right here. It's grayed out right now, but once you click on one of these buttons, it should activate. When the government receives an AHA from the contractor, the information fields completed by the contractor will be read-only in the government's view of the AHA builder, but the government entry fields will be active. So if needed, government remarks can be added, and then to accept the AHA, you can check the accepted checkbox. The date reviewed and reviewed by fields will automatically be filled in with, of course, the date the AHA was accepted and the name of the user who performed the acceptance. This action is also going to sign the ENG 6206, and the document package will also become accepted. And then, of course, to return the AHA, enter any corrections, edits, or updates needed in the government remarks field and check the returned checkbox. This is going to return the AHA and any associated document packages back to the contractor for updates or edits and then resubmission. All right, moving on to submittals. We have an update within the transmittal log made to the ENG 4025. There was an issue here occurring with submittal type codes that wrapped on more than one line. This caused the QA codes for the submittal items to become misaligned. So in this bottom view, the submittal type code column, these wrap on 2 lines, and the QA codes are a little wonky. The format of the ENG 4025 has been updated so that the form can handle the wrapped lines while keeping the QA codes in line with the submittal items that they are attached to, as shown here for these shop drawings submittals. Moving on to schedules, we have a fix to an issue that was occurring in the placement schedule module. So when placement is based on manually entered projected monthly earnings and a user clicked on the compute placement button in the monthly placement tab, some months in the past could be edited. This should not be happening. Any placement that was recorded on a month in the past should not be active for editing. And so this was fixed. Now only months considered as being in the future can be edited when the compute placement button is clicked under those conditions. Please do keep in mind that the current month will be active for editing if no payment has been made at the time of clicking that compute placement button. If a payment has been made, then it will be considered as in the past and it will not be active for editing. Now for an update made to the import submittal register in Excel capability under the Import Export tab. The submittal register import template file has been updated to include the activity ID column. This can be used to specify in the import if a submittal is assigned to a pay activity. Entering a valid activity ID here is going to fill in the required for activity field in the submittal item. For any of those who have this template stored already, the template will need to be re-downloaded. Since the template's been updated, RMS is no longer going to recognize that previous version as valid. So once this patch 510 releases, make sure to go and grab that. The activity IDs that can be entered here are going to be those listed in the Pay Activities module. So they're going to need to match those IDs exactly, otherwise there will be discrepancies, which RMS will pick up on. So if there's an activity ID entered into the import file that does not match any of the existing Pay Activity IDs, or if that activity does not yet exist in the contract, then those are going to be highlighted in the import preview for the submittal register import. You can either back out of the import here and now and go fix the activities, then retry the import, or the import will still go through even with these invalid IDs flagged. The submittal items required for activity field will just be left blank if those issues are not resolved. Okay, finally, our last update in Closeout, we have an update to how costs are distributed amongst real property items. The SNA and PND costs are now based on the percentage of the total construction amount, and the DDC is now based on the percentage of construction items. So you may notice a difference in how these costs show up on the DD 1354, and that is why. This update will not impact any DD 1354 documents already stored in a document package in RMS at this time. Only those after the release of patch 510 will be impacted with this update. And that wraps up our presentation of the reviews and fixes part of patch 510, except that first one for non-CAC logins, that is planned for a later release. We just wanted to get the notification of the change out there. So here on the references slide, we have some linked videos for the AHA builder, the SF30 update, the new submittal register template file, and then that video for the two-factor authentication incoming for non-CAC logins. We have also provided a link to the blank ENG 6206 reports, and those SPS training resources we reviewed on the slide earlier are provided here as well. And then, of course, we've got the links at the bottom, as usual, for the RMS website, RMS YouTube channel, and RMS Help Desk, along with that phone number to the RMS Help Desk and the KM portal link. And that concludes our presentation, and we'll open up the floor for any questions or discussion to occur. Thank you.
All right, so there's a number of questions in the chat about the SF30. One person asked a question about not being able to see all of the sections in the SF30 new button. Actually, all of the sections do show up in that new button. So this is demonstrated in the video linked out. I know it didn't show up in the slides. I'm working on prepping it so that I can show it to you here in a couple of seconds. But it'll take me just a minute to bring that up. For, let's see here, there's another question. For the form, 4025 form that needs more space because of item numbers, I believe that is actually going to be fixed in this release that is coming up. If it doesn't have enough space once this release goes out, please put in a ticket so that way we can address that and get that taken care of. So we have another question. Let's see here. My question was not about sections A through E on the SF30, but the items and information on the first page numbers 1 through 16, specifically number 13. All right, 13 is, oh, for the FAR clauses. Yeah, I don't think those ones show up on that page. If you would like that to show up on that page, please submit a ticket so that way we can look into getting that in there. Another question that we have in here is the DDC, the include DDC checkbox on the real property. Yes, I believe that is the one that it is. So if you open up the real property itself and you've got the include DDC checkbox, that's the one that we're talking about. Slides. So where can you get the slides that we just did today? All of that is found on our website. Go to rms.usace.army.mil. The link is also in the chat. On the first page in the section where the recent upcoming trainings are, the slides are listed there, and they will stay there until we get the finalized slides and the video recording for this up on YouTube. Once we get all of that up on YouTube, everything will move to the video training for this one, including a link to the slides. Y'all should be able to see my RMS at this time. We're currently in a modification on the SF30-3 tab. All right, so what I did is I just randomly went through and added some information into each of the blocks so that way you can know what it is. Let me update this because it's going to get mad at me otherwise. So that we know where it's coming from. And then I did the same thing on this SF30. And when you click on the SF30 button, you do have your sections A, B, C, D, and E. Now, I don't have anything in my A because I didn't actually link A, B, C, D to this. I didn't link a change request. This is just a flat setting for this particular one. So it does have all of that information in here, and no, it does not include the FAR information at this point in time. Hopefully that answers everybody's question with regards to that. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and see if anybody has any other questions. Let's see here. This link to the references doesn't work for me. Do you have another way to access this? Go ahead and go to our website at rms.usace.army.mil and open up the links from the actual slides. So if you click on the slide link, let me pull that up here really fast.
I have a question on information. It seems like there's no way of getting around, even with, if you print the report and say a CET is going to be entering this into SPS or PD squared, they're going to have to go into RMS, go under the tabs, cut and paste certain information like the funding information from that. It's not going to be on the report. And then they're not going to know if like some of these maybe optional comments that are made in block, I don't know what they are, 16, 17, if they were made or not, they're going to have to go back in RMS and see if maybe they were made there and they just weren't on the report. It's hard because it kind of seems like some things are on the report, some things aren't. How do you know what would be and what's not going to be?
So basically, for this particular one, everything that's showing a block number should be on there. Block 13 is unfortunately missing with the funding information. If you link this to a change request, it will show that information on the SF30 in the scope of work section. So, and then the change of price will also show in that particular section. You're talking about the funding account that's found in the change request though, yes?
Yeah, that's one thing they need. Basically, it'd like be nice when they have the SF30 in front of them, they don't need anything else in front of them to input the information into PD squared, except maybe the instructions on how to do that. So I guess we're expecting the CET to know whether or not that form contains all the information or if they need to go back into RMS and try to find the information. And funding's one of them. And another one is, the reason for the change. And then maybe some of these other optional blocks that if information is in the block and we know it's going to show up on the report, great. But it's hard to know right now without having access to the report what is going to be there for, and what is going to be there and what isn't going to be there. If we did a side-by-side comparison of a contract that we have right now, we're able to print the S30. We didn't just shut down, and then what that looks like when you cross-reference it to the report. Hopefully I didn't just lose you guys.
No, I'm just listening to what you're talking about. So yeah, that does make a whole lot of sense. I can try to set something up really fast, but as to how to move this over into SPS, I have no knowledge, and most of us here at the RMS Support Center, we have no knowledge of SPS. We were told that this needs to be, everything has to come from SPS, and we can only provide you bare bones. How that gets into SPS, I cannot give you the instructions on how to do that. You have to talk to your district administrator or contact the TMO to ask them how it is going to be transferred. As for what it's going to look like, that I can show you if you give me about a couple of seconds to set this.
And I totally understand it's up to us. I mean, you guys don't do PD squared, but we, the people that have entered the mods into PD squared have usually done that from a SF30 that they have in front of them, and they know the block. They, called block A, it's block 13, and that matches up to PD squared. And so if the report that is printed RMS does not have those kind of indicators, it's hard to expect a GS 6 or 7 to figure it out.
Hi, I'm with the South Texas Area Office, and I'm a CET. I do know that my coworkers who are also CETs that enter, well, when we get an SF30, we don't just base it off of the actual document. We do go through each tab and look at everything that's in RMS. So when we're entering it into, so basically what we do is we basically take the document, put it into either a Word, but in regards to like the CLIN or the funding account information, we're actually not depending solely on the SF30. We're actually depending on the information that was entered in RMS. So I don't know if that's something that your CETs do, but we actually will have RMS open, the document, and then also PD square.
Yeah, and that is unfortunately the recommendation that we were given by the TMO for handling that as well. So let me go ahead. I am going to share a different screen here. All right, so what I've got open right now is I've got current patch production 498 is open over here on the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side, I have got, I want to save those changes. I have got the current patch that is going out this Friday. So this is the upcoming patch that's coming up. So let's go ahead and take a look. We're going to look at the SF30 that's generated in the current patch and compare it to what's showing up in our pre-release. All right, so as you can see here, we've got Section A, Section B, Section C, Section D, and Section E. And in these particular cases, Block 4 is showing up here, 16C. 13 is not showing up other than other on this side. So only things that are showing up over here are this one. So what I would say, if there's anything that's missing on this view that you would like to see in this view, please put in a ticket. So that way we can get those changes updated and added to this screen and also added to this download SF30 button. So that way when your people in SPS are going to put that in, you'll get that in there. And keep in mind, we're not going to be able to do everything immediately. It'll have to, of course, go through the whole district and look at everybody's policies to see, okay, is this what's going to be best for all of RMS, not just one particular district. So keep that in mind, but please submit a ticket so that way we can go ahead and look into that and see what we can do to help get the information that you need. In the meantime, unfortunately, they will probably need to have RMS open so that way they can see this back to back if they don't know where Section A, B, C, D, and E go on the actual form.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
You guys are not involved in any sense of the word with PD Square. Do you
No.
have some point of contact at all? Because to my knowledge, we can only do one mod at a time. And if we had any emergency mods or a pile up, it would have to be one by one by one, as opposed to where now we can do many in RMS, send them out for contractor signature, blah, blah, blah. So there was no correlation, no work between PD Square and RMS at all, correct?
As far as I know, yes. But if you do have any questions about that, I would contact the TMO and ask them how they want that to be worked out.
Oh, there is no workout. That's
There is
exactly
no
what's going to
workout
happen.
because
But
you
okay,
can only
thanks.
have one action open in SBS at a time. So you can't do multiple mods at a time on the same contract in SPS.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be fun. Thanks.
So someone did actually ask about the links. So if you go to our website here, click on this slide links here in the file that opens up, it'll take it a couple of seconds. Just scroll all the way down to the, as you can see, these are all of the slides that we just went through, all the way down to the references slide. And then here are all of the links. You can just click on each and every one of them and it'll take you to those pages. Keep in mind, some of these links right here, you will probably need to be on the government network in order for them to actually go to a site where you can see something. Does anybody else have any other questions while I go through and look and see if we're missing anything? Again, if you have any comments, concerns, or questions, you can either talk to the TMO. If it's something that we can do, you can put in support ticket. If there's anything that's working the way that you don't think it should be working, again, put in a support ticket, contact us. If you can't put in a support ticket for whatever reason, give us a call. 442-333-1011. I promise you, you will get to somebody eventually. If we don't answer the phone, leave a message with your name and your information and we will call you back. I actually just called someone back yesterday. She was like, oh, thank God. I'm so glad you called. We do answer the phone And when it gets really busy, if we don't answer, we do call you back. So I promise, if you have questions, you have concerns, and you can't put in a ticket through our website, please give us a call. We'll be more than happy to help you out. Are there any other questions?
What's that number again? I'm sorry.
The phone number is 442-333-1011. And you can always find that on our website at rms.usaid.army.mil. Scroll all the way down to the bottom. The phone number is there. It's also on these slides. And there's a couple other places on the website where it's at as well. We'll stick around for another 10 more minutes. So if you have any other questions, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and close it out if we don't hear from anybody.
Just a real quick
And-
mention
go ahead.
in the chat, there's a government teams, a TDL, CECT procurement systems, SPS PD squared. That's what that DoD link is in the chat. If you need a direct link, let the help desk know. The help desk can get you a direct link to that government teams chat. It's a Microsoft Teams group that can answer questions on SPS and PD squared. At least that's what we've been told.
Thank you for that very much.
Awesome. Thank you.
I did see that somebody raised their hand. Did you still want to talk? No. Okay. Just a reminder, all of the questions that we had today, including the ones in Q&A, will be added to the slides and they will be in the video when we're done. And it's posted on YouTube. So if you didn't get any questions answered, again, submit a ticket, give us a call, whatever you need to do, and we'll do the best that we can. If we didn't answer one in the chat, which I hope we did answer them all, we will get those answers available once the slides are done. Let's see. Help.info on ACWS, CPARs, and other contracting management systems. Thank you. That's actually very good information. That chat is in the Q&A, so you can actually check that out for those of you that were listening to me ramble about that. All right, so there is another question in here. Your question, you're going to need to contact your district administrator in order to gain access to districts. District access is controlled by the administrators. We don't have authority to do that. However, if you don't know who your district admin is, I will look for your ticket and I will send you the information that you need in order to who to contact in order to get that access.
So the RMS admin has given me access and login. So I'm with the Albuquerque district, temporary duty with the Middle East district. Went from L4 number to an N0 number.
Right.
So
What's
we're
your ticket number? Do you know it off the top of your head? I'll look into it.
sure. RMS support service ticket number 78545.
545, so 78545.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and pull it as soon as we get out of here. I will pull that up and see what's going on, and I'll probably give you a call. Okay.
Awesome. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. All right. Any other questions?
I have a question for you. Is there any time soon or ever will be a connection with CPARs? The icon is available there for a long time, but the connection has never been done. Do you know anything about that one?
My understanding, there was talk of doing that and it never went through. I think it was shelved indefinitely. At this point, right now, there is no planned connection for now.
Okay, thank you.
Keep in mind, though, if you do want that connection through there, put in a request through your RSG team member. We might be able to get it in, but it'll have to go through the RSG.
Okay,
If you don't know who your RSG person is, this is for everybody. If you don't know who that is, send in a ticket. We will give you a list of point of contact so you can find out who that person is.
awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely.
What about foreign currency symbol in SF30?
Your dev item is still in process.
Okay. Thank you.
It looks like we've gotten all the questions and I don't hear anybody else talking. All right. So as a reminder, remember, if you ever have any questions, comments, or concerns, we are always available between 6 a.m. and 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. You can give us a call. And if we're not available when you call, leave a message because like I said, we will call you back usually on the same day. We thank you so very much for joining us today. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day and look for the new release on Thursday. Thank you so much.